Hi there, Elevated Planet community. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
I'm Jolene Gabrielle, and I'm so grateful to be here as a part of Elevated Planet. And today we have a lot in store for you. We're kind of stepping a little bit outside the box, and John is going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. And yeah, we are, again, I think we're kind of getting a little bit more edgy these days. This is kind of why we're using this Nos Populi, We the People thing, because it is of this time. And I think it's important that this information be shared. And a lot of it will test the boundaries of beliefs of many, and that is understandable. You know, everybody is entitled to view the world the way that they feel they should, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, I think all we're doing is planting the seeds and leaving it for you to discern for yourself what you choose to believe. But that's the key thing, is discernment in this day and age, because there's an awful lot of information out there. There's an awful lot of disinformation. So you've got to find out what is true for you. But for today, what we're going to do, we're going to start off with a blog, an Elevated Planet blog, which is, again, of this time. And then we go into some deeper evidence and the likes, and we are going to take it from there. So, Jolie, what do you think? Are we good to go, or anything you want to add?
Absolutely good to go.
Okay, cool. Right, bear with me a second. Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and I'm bringing you another blog today, which is entitled Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens. It is time to scratch below the surface. This is a blog originally published on February the 12th, 2023, but it is still exceptionally relevant today, maybe even more so than it was over a year ago. So here we go. When you examine the weight of evidence that our galactic cousins, extraterrestrials, are already amongst us, it is overwhelming. And you don't have to take my word for it, nor indeed should you. You simply have to free up your mind to the possibility, and having done so, start to explore the substantial evidence with eyes and mind open. And brace yourself for a shock. Yet so few of us realize this simple truth about our intrepid galactic friends, so we have to ask why that is the case. What you soon come to realize is that this demonstrates the success of the ongoing campaign of deliberate disinformation and ridicule applied to something that has actually been staring us in the face all along. It also relies on the fact that most people just want to get on with their lives and not concern themselves too much with the thought. However, there is a bigger point here. If so many can be successfully deceived, what other realities have we been spoon-fed over the decades in order for the master manipulators to control the way we think? The more you examine that point, the more alarming it becomes. You realize that these people continue to shape our realities to this very day, and their control of the mainstream media allow them the ability to do this with ease. Who are these people? Well, Nostradamus referred to them as the Cabal. He also referenced two men specifically, one based in London, one based in New York, that are very well hidden. But they control most of the economy of both the known world and the third world, and they manipulate governments. He said that these men would also set the scene for the third Antichrist. Nostradamus saw possible or probable futures. We know much of what he saw has come to pass, including the second Antichrist, which was Hitler, and the way the Second World War played out, and he foresaw the attack that took place on 9/11. But because the timelines changed, nothing he saw was absolute. As Nostradamus said, "Prevenu est prevenu," or forewarned is forearmed. He hoped that through his prophecies, some things could be averted. How dangerous does it get? Well, we are currently being led into a war on a bunch of false beliefs, just as has happened multiple times before. An obvious recent example was the Gulf War, which was instigated to gain control of oil population under the false claim that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Understandably, not many had sympathy for Saddam Hussein, but how many innocent people had to die to have their lives destroyed in order for the Western world to seize these prized assets? There are those that make significant amounts of money by propagating war. They are very powerful people, they have significant control over governments, and they do not concern themselves with collateral damage. It's just a power game. The creation of fear, lack of resources and money, division between nations, the call to instant judgment, the media obsession with only showing the darkness when so much light exists in the world, encourages people to buy into the war narrative. People will feel that we have no choice. We have to defend the righteous and defeat the enemy. The cycle of distortion and manipulation has to be broken, and that time is coming. That's not to say the war will be avoided, because I believe that this has to play out to let us get to where we are going. However, particularly from 2027 onwards, the chickens will be coming home to roost, and a lot of powerful people will be sent to the planetary naughty step to think about what they've done. Thereafter, the truth will fully unfurl itself, and as we know, the truth will set us free. Free to live a life of inner peace, happiness, kindness, and compassion. We just need to break out of this misaligned programming and conditioning and find out how incredible we each are. I believe that in the near term, some of us will be so steeped in the reality we've been fed for our entire lives that we will be unable to escape its bonds. And that is completely understandable. It isn't easy to come to terms with the idea that we have been misled on such a grand scale. It's like we are all chickens on a battery farm with the opportunity to go free range. Some of us chickens will refuse to believe that a world exists outside of our pen. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what sort of chicken am I? As for me, I'm heading out to the meadow to scratch up myself some tasty worms, and I would welcome anybody to come and join me. So if that sounds appetizing to you, come on out into the meadow. In order to find our freedom, we firstly have to appreciate that we have been misled and that the time has come for us to take back our power. How? We simply step out of fear into fearlessness, then no one holds power over us. And you need fear no one and no thing. Why? Well, ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Of course, that brings us neatly to the subject of death. However, regardless of its negative image, death is the most beautiful, transcendent experience that will ever happen in your life. There is absolutely no reason to fear it. I personally guarantee it. And if I'm wrong, you get your money back. Imagine the liberating feeling of leaving your physical body, just like taking off a badly fitting shoe, and off you go, escaping this density and back home to perfection. And I don't say that to encourage you to prematurely end it all, to take an early exit to the place of unconditional love. Life here in the physical realm is a gift to be honored. And how do we honor our mortal existence? By living life joyously and fearlessly, with true freedom of expression, intermingled with kindness, compassion, sense of community, and of course, karaoke, dad dancing, and other forms of uninhibited fun. Remember, however dark things may seem to get on the planet during these next 3 years, and I believe they will get dark, there is an equal and opposite amount of light. It is a fundamental law of the universe that this is so. The way things get presented to us may focus on the dark, but you have the choice to switch off from anything that encourages you to feel fearful or angry, because you now realize that it is designed to keep you so much less than you really are. You are here to experience joy, amongst many other high-frequency emotions. If what you consume does not fill you with happiness and inner peace, then just know it is not supporting your well-being. Following your bliss is the answer, because that is the reason you are here, and that leads to your personal growth. We each choose our path. Maybe it is time to awaken to this incredible opportunity to celebrate life in the way it was always intended to be. It is the time of the great remembering, after all. And it is the reason we chose to come here at this time. And despite the darkness, everything is exactly as it is supposed to be. So, while I know I shouldn't be counting chickens, care to join me in the meadow? You get to choose free range or battery. Either selection is right for you, but it's important to know you have a choice. Now, is this truth or deluded clucking nonsense? Well, that's for you to decide. This is John Drew, Elevated Planet. Thank you.
John, I love the deluded clucking nonsense.
Little bit edgy.
know, even in that is joy. Even in that is something to be celebrated. Whether you believe or not, it doesn't really matter. Let's just have some fun and let's just allow for information to come in. That's all that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just planting the seeds, worms, grubs, anything else we can think of for us to scratch up in the meadow. And yeah, that's what it's really all about. And don't forget, you'd get a money back guarantee if I get the death thing wrong as well. So bear that in mind when you cross over. If you're not enjoying the experience, then come and knock on the door. And it was interesting, actually, was one of the things that we looked at this last week, just before I leap into the next one, which provides further evidence as to what that blog is about, right? Because you've got to back it up with a little bit of evidence and a little bit of experience behind it. And we're going to do that care of Dr. Stephen Greer, who is brilliant. I got to say, I'm a huge fan of his. He's been working on these things for 30 odd years now. And, the man is... He's met so many, he's been involved in so many things. He's set up presidential kind of access to this secretive kind of world of extraterrestrial contact with governments and the likes. But yeah, he's a super credible guy. But it was interesting because Jolie and I had a look at this the other day. Lee Carroll, who channels the Cryon energy, and he was saying that we have done well in raising collective consciousness on the planet to a point where we have avoided a lot of the worst outcomes. And, things are progressing better than expected. So, even though we may go into dark times, I believe that what Nostradamus saw from a perspective of the worst case scenarios, I think have completely been avoided. But, we shall find out in due course, third Antichrist or not, we shall see. Anyway, so now we are going to switch to Stephen Greer. Anything you want to add, Jolie, before we go over, or happy to continue?
Just one thing. It's really time to push the envelope and think outside the box, and if it resonates, you will feel it. And we're just presenting this to you in a way that is very neutral, but it is definitely filled with whimsy and curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
exactly.
go.
Thank you, Jolie. All said. Okay, here we go. We're going to go just switch screens. Bear with me a second.
Actually, this ET I'm talking about is probably about 4 to 5 feet tall. I didn't know what the heck was going on. And I was up on this mountain in outside Boone, North Carolina, up in the mountains. And this, at first I thought it was a deer on its hind legs looking at me. And because it had deer-like eyes. And it came over and touched my right shoulder so firmly I could see the indentation. And with that, there was an electromagnetic field. All my hair stood on. It's when I had hair, and all my hair stood on end. And it was this amazing event that happened with this being. So, it was not at all frightening to me. It was beautiful, but and I think that what the interest of that particular experience, what those ETs was a young guy, 18, who had had a near-death experience, who understood consciousness and understood the central role of what's called in physics entanglement, where everything's connected in the consciousness field, but also in physics. And so in order to understand going from a far distant star system to here, you're not going to do that in a straight line at the speed of light. You're going to do it through understanding what the physicists call non-locality, where nothing has to be fixed in space-time. And this gets into some very advanced concepts. But the ultimate non-local field is you right there. You're awake and conscious. Your conscious mind is, if you were to calm it down, that's what meditation does, and calm it down, is actually connected to this field of consciousness that's everywhere, simultaneously everywhere. This is why the CIA had a very successful project dealing with what's called remote viewing, where people use certain techniques in consciousness and be able to see remote places. I got to know a lot of the really accomplished remote viewers who worked in that CIA program back years ago. And that program ran for 20, 30 years. People say, oh, that can't be. I said, oh, yeah, it is. It's like a seer. It's like a shaman or a seer who has the ability to see remote places or the future and with consciousness. Now, think about technologies where you're dealing with civilizations that are 100,000 or more years advanced than us, many of them. All their technologies, we're using electromagnetic system here at the speed of light, right? 186,000 miles per second. They're using technologies that are interfacing with quantum thought, sort of like really advanced, what Elon Musk is working on with Neuralink, but not with wires and stuff, but where it's a consciousness field and thought interfacing with machine. And there's been a lot of research done by various scientists in the last few decades on this, where consciousness and thought can affect a machine or a random number generator, which are a quantum machine, basically, like Dr. John did at Princeton, at the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab, the Peer Lab. People should look that up. He was brilliant. I knew him. He really understood this whole idea of the consciousness field and matter and electromagnetism and being interconnected. So when you're dealing with extraterrestrial civilizations, they have perfected that the way we have perfected a cell phone or a video call or FaceTime. So that's the other thing people have to understand. You're not dealing with your granddad's Oldsmobile here. You're dealing with some really advanced technology, which the good part of it is that a lot of those technologies, if they're brought forward, and this is why I'm here in LA for this premiere of The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, this new documentary that just has come out. It's about all these technologies. But if those were brought out, in 10 to 20 years, we'd have a new civilization here. But they have to be brought out wisely, and they have to be brought out for peaceful applications. And a lot of them have to be held back for a while, the things that fly, the things that are, anti-grav things that fly around. But the ones that just generate energy, that would, get us off oil and gas and coal and eliminate the poverty that's in the world very quickly. But, you're going to have certain losers too in that. You're going to have, countries and corporations and powerful people who have interest in the conventional energy systems of oil, gas, coal, public utilities. You're not going to need a public utility. You'd have a box at your house that would be pulling energy out of what's called this 0 point energy field or quantum energy entangled field. And it'd run your house with no power bill ever. Same thing with your car. You wouldn't have to plug it in like a Tesla. It'd be a real Tesla. Nikola Tesla had one. He had an electric car and never had to be plugged in. So the point I'm making here is that we really could restart civilization and put it back on track, but there are a lot of headwinds against it. I mean, think of the powerful interests that do not want that to happen. I mean, they're controlling wealth that is way dwarfs the entire budget of the United States. Way more. Orders of magnitude more. So that's the problem.
A couple of things to talk about there, really. Amongst the things that Dr. Greer was talking about, he mentioned about an NDE, and he had the NDE when he was just 17, I believe it was. I forget what it was, but he had a very serious illness, and he literally, died at a certain point. And that was when he had his near-death experience, which kind of taught him all about the nature of consciousness and thing, which woke him up to and we see this a lot, and we've featured this a lot through Elevated Planet over the last year or two. Andy Petro, we did a whole series on his near-death experience and how it kind of interacted with humanity in terms of what that means for us. And we've still got that in the blogs and everything for anybody that's curious about it. And it's a fascinating experience once you start to break it down. But that was kind of what triggered him into this state where he was more available to these higher consciousness beings, such as he encountered when he was 18 up in the mountains. So, and again, I know certain people will think that is just deluded, but in reality, I'm very confident, heartfelt confidence that Mr. Greer is absolutely, totally right about what he talks about. No doubt about that. So the quantum entanglement thing is interesting, and the fact that the quantum entangled field energy, it is a huge leap for mankind. And I know this has been talked about a lot, but I mean, Tesla discovered this is not new. This is over 100 years old, and yet it has been suppressed for so long because of the outside interests, these hugely powerful and wealthy interests of not allowing fossil fuels to die the way they should have done 100 years ago, which is crazy when you think about the damage done to the biosphere over these last decades for fossil fuels having been burnt needlessly. So it's crazy stuff, but this is now starting to come to the surface, and this is part of the age of Aquarius, where the misdeeds of the past start to be revealed such that we can move forward. We can actually start to tap into these new technologies, which are going to advance us massively. It is going to change the world we live in. And I'm confident that is going to happen. He also mentioned about anti-gravity craft. And I know that, again, you've only got to look through the catalogue of Dr. Greer's work in terms of the documentary movies that he's put together. They're amazing. And he's not on his own. There are plenty of others out there who back this up. He's not one man in the wilderness. There are thousands of people who kind of understand this stuff. But the anti-gravity, I believe it was 1956, it was conquered. It might have even been earlier, but I think it was 1956 at the US Naval Laboratories. And they have the documentation that backs these things up. Dr. Greer, on his website at seriousdisclosure.com, has many of these documents. Actually, you can go and look for yourself. You can see for authenticity purposes whether you believe it to be real. And it is quite staggering. I mean, I have a bunch of them that I've saved myself because, they really do make you think differently about life and about the opportunities we have going forward, because so much of this stuff has been suppressed, but it is starting to come to the surface. So let's celebrate that fact. And you mentioned about the random number generator kind of experiment where consciousness affects the outcome of things, which tells us that consciousness is different to how we kind of now that's been around for a while. That double slit experiment, which changed the direction of the energy based on who was looking at it, and it's kind of that it all spills out from there into the quantum entanglement side of things, way beyond my pay grade, that's for sure. But I find it fascinating, I really do. But Jolie, can I call you in for your comments on that?
Way beyond your pay grade. I love that. But it is it. Let's bring some spirituality into here for a moment, because there are so many things that touch on how mankind has special stuff, I guess, special sauce. There's all kinds of bloodlines. There's Rh negative. They don't know where that comes from. They say maybe that's possibly alien DNA. There's been so many things that speak to even being able to remote view. All of this stuff is just remembering. When you think about Lemuria, and John, I know you like to talk about that, like Atlantis, like what was going on there? And when they say there's nothing new under the sun, they're talking about these technologies and they're talking about these things that link, like he says, the mind. Now the mind, you're being able to go quantum, and your thoughts. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, because where the rubber meets the road is you're online and you say, I really want some fried chicken tonight. And then all of a sudden you see all these ads for chicken and restaurants. And you're like, I didn't even say that out loud. And they go, oh no, but the algorithm, it knows. Right at that very moment that I thought about chicken, the algorithm knows to send me these ads.
Right.
Okay, now let's think about that in terms of, now let's put that on us, because we know that the human mind is way more powerful than anything AI could come up with. It's way more complex. So if AI is capable of doing that, imagine what we are capable of if we open our minds and our hearts to maybe connecting with not only our fellow man, but to universal energy. You know what I mean? What is beyond us? Is it possible to tap into that and receive information? Don't just think that's for Joe Blow, the quantum physicist at JPL. What about you?
Mm.
What about your connection to the divine? What does that look like? Can you focus it to where all malevolence and negativity, you repel that and you move over into the light and you receive these energies from the divine? How do you focus? Start getting curious and question. Maybe your prayers are about you praying to connect with your divine blueprint so that you figure out your purpose. And then maybe while you're sleeping, you're visited and you're upgraded, you know? So, and
Oh my God, yeah.
and you see these. So, I mean, open your heart and mind to maybe moving in this in a positive way. And the best way to go is to start with neutrality.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, it's interesting because, like, yeah, absolutely, the Atlantis thing and the Lemuria thing as well. You know, I do believe those civilizations were significantly more advanced than we are now in many ways, you know, but they were flawed in their own ways as well. Hence the demise of certainly of the Atlantis side of things, but certainly telepathy was a normal method of communication, as I understand it, and children were taught this from a young age. You know, they would go to school and they would, yeah, whereas we are told it doesn't exist, therefore that muscle never gets developed. Apart from people, certain people who are very talented like that, who have a strength and they tap into it, then there are those that you know can develop those psychic senses, right? So
Right.
as you say, Jolie, and I do believe you're absolutely 100% right. I think that we are in for quite a ride actually in the next few years in terms of our spiritual development and our opportunity for personal growth that comes from this great remembering time when we start to realize we're more than just a meat suit, you know?
Correct.
And, you know, I think, again, I know they mentioned in this first section again about the importance of meditation. And I think that is clearly a big part of this as well, is being able to do the visualization and stuff that, you know, which you help us with, Jolie, and it's important.
Yeah. See the vision, and we're all, you know, collectively can see. Can you imagine if we all collectively got on the same page and saw the vision of just what? Maybe just gold light pouring into the universe. Maybe that is just as simple as we need to go to begin to break through some of this negativity, right? So
Right.
let's just get on board of the same page of just what is that? Love and joy. And we'll get into that with Wayne Dyer, right? A little bit later.
We will, yeah. Yeah, no, this is all exciting stuff. This is what I love about it because, you know, we do talk about the fact that this is scary and we're talking about potential darkness, wars, this antichrist, whatever. But the reality is that whatever we're going to go through in the time ahead, this is taking us to where we need to go, which is a place of beauty, you know, our world of unspeakable beauty, which we're going to get to. As Jolie say, we'll, you know, be able to come together in group consciousness and expect and create our own world. So anyway, on with part 2. Here we go.
I think certainly now, since what 60% of the population believe there's life out there, and more than that number now believe that the UFOs are real. Now that the Pentagon has admitted those objects that they have on sensors and cameras are real. And I've talked to the F-18 Hornet pilot who took that footage. So, I mean, you know, this is getting to be a settled question. I don't think, I think back in the 40s, 50s, there was some of that concern. There's still some of that concern from your more fanatical religious elements who don't want to accept that there's life anywhere but here. But that's the lunatic fringe, 10, 15%. I think most people accept that. You know, I was at the Vatican talking to one of the chief theologians for the Pope some years ago, and he said, God is not so stupid to have left all of his hopes for intelligent life in the universe in just humans. It was very funny. It was a Monsignor Balducci. We have a great interview with him, by the way. He's passed away, but he is a wonderful guy. So, I think most of the religions of the world would be able to incorporate this into their paradigm, because it doesn't detract from the glory of God, the fact that there's intelligent life throughout an infinite cosmos. Well, honestly, I don't necessarily think that there were ETs that made them. I think there could have been some extraordinary technologies that were used. For example, there is a record of technologies that existed on Earth, of civilization more advanced than we are now. And the question is, were there some use of some type of electrogravitic levitation technologies that were used? The other problem is, even when the Smithsonian paid $5 million to simulate using mathematics and the technology that archaeologists say existed back in the time of the pyramids, those obelisks like the Washington Monument, but those were all one big piece of stone, they couldn't raise the smallest one with everything we know now about mathematics and engineering with what's been postulated. So there's something doesn't add up there. But I think it's a bridge too far to claim they were built by ETs. But they were certainly, their construction and the precision of the stones cut, how far they were moved, how they were put into place. There are a lot of questions I have, but I have no proof of how that might have happened, except the man I referred to earlier from Redstone Arsenal area, who is given material occasionally, is not always extraterrestrial. He has been given objects that are tens of thousands of years old or older, that are technological, that have been found in the ocean and elsewhere, that were of human origin and were extremely advanced technologies. So I believe that it's likely that on Earth, prior to the modern era, there have been civilizations far advanced beyond where we are, that for which we have very little record. And when that record is found, I think it's kind of swept under the carpet. It's interesting. There were years ago when they did the Mars images, and they found that there were these obelisks and strange-looking objects on Mars. I went out to the Goddard Space Flight Center here outside D.C. to meet with Mark Carlotta and some other scientists there, and they said, "Yep, it's been pixelated out for the public, but there are structures there." And they were very ancient, but we're talking millions of years old, millions. And I was out in California after I had disclosed this to some people, and a man came up to me from JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, and I didn't know him. He knew who I was and said, "Dr. Greer, here's the issue. You're right, those exist, but we can't disclose that." I said, "Why? It's not an operational ET device. It's not, it's old." He says, "Yes, but you don't understand how powerful this information is." I said, "Why?" He says, "If this was disclosed, it would collapse the fundamentalist orthodox belief systems of every religion on Earth." I said, "What? This science and this evidence is being kept secret for religious reasons?" He says, "Yes, because the creation myths." Now, I'm not talking about most people, but those sort of fundamentalist orthodox belief systems, they'd all crumble. They'd be completely gone. We might find out that the origins of Homo sapiens altogether isn't what we think, either Darwinian or other. So there are all kinds of implications to this issue. This is one of the things when I was out at Lawrence Rockefeller's ranch back when we were setting up things for the Clinton administration back in September of '93 out in the Tetons. And he took me out at night on the deck and he said, "Look," he said, "Dr. Greer, no aspect of life on Earth will be unaffected by this being disclosed. So vast and so large are the implications." I said, "Yes, Lawrence, that's why it's been kept so secret."
Interesting points there. He makes the point, getting to be a settled question, given that a big percentage population of the world really does believe there is life out beyond humanity now. And the UFO UAP thing is real, and it is. There's no doubt about it. The hands are being forced to a degree, but this is the time it's coming forward. And I mentioned before about the fact that the anti-gravity technology has existed since 1956 from the US naval labs and beyond. And that came from downed ET craft. That was reverse engineered. And that was why we have alien reproduction vehicles, ARVs, out there now. Again, top secret. It's not a commonly known thing because there was always this threat of the false flag invasion and all that kind of thing. Technologies have been developed way beyond what the public are aware of. Fortunately, the likes of Mr. Greer and the almost 1,000 whistleblowers that he has now who have stepped forward under this US law that was passed, which gave them protection. So a lot more step forward. And a lot of them have given evidence to that extent. Fascinating times that is all coming out. The Roman Catholic theological view of life beyond Earth, Signor Balducci, I think it was, who, again, and I know that Stephen Greer does a lot of name dropping, whether it's Lawrence Rockefeller, Monsignor Balducci, and many others. But this is because it adds credibility, because people can always look that up. It's about giving people the opportunity to check these things out for themselves and decide, using discernment, whether it is their truth, whether they're aware, have the ability to adapt to a changed perspective, or whether they might just think it is deluded nonsense after having checked the evidence anyway. But that's what it's up for. The ETs, did they create the pyramids and the other megalithic structures? Well, again, I think that, as I said in the previous break, is that I do believe that previous civilizations here on Earth have been a lot more advanced than we are now. A lot of people really struggle with that. And the final point I was going to make, sorry, Jola, carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that mankind is great. And to say that mankind doesn't, or humans don't have the capabilities to create something magnificent like that is, I think, misguided. Right. Maybe we had help, or maybe we knew already, but that's something that we have to know, that we're worthy and deserving, and we are able to do that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we were, and I do believe we may have actually had some assistance along the way, but certainly I do think that mankind themselves were involved in that. Ancient structures on Mars exist but are disguised, pixelated basically from public view. But what does this mean? This means millions of years ago there was a settlement on Mars which was very advanced. What does that tell us, right? Again, this is all about this, again, the thing that would upset the apple cart for fundamentalist religions, but clearly not as far as the Roman Catholic Church are concerned. They appear to be quite relaxed about the fact that life exists beyond humanity, intelligent life across the universe. And as Stephen Greer himself says, it doesn't actually put anything under threat to say that the one God is the creator of all things universal, is not diminishing God in any way. So, it's interesting. Now, I just wanted to read one final passage before I hand over fully to Joe for further discussion. But I wanted to just read this because this was from Dr. Greer. It was from an essay he did called One Universe, One People. He says, the term extraterrestrial, so curiously nondescript, wonderfully lends itself to these concepts of unity. Regardless of planet, star system, or galaxy of origin, and no matter how diverse, extraterrestrials are essentially intelligent, conscious, sentient beings. Humans are essentially intelligent, conscious, sentient beings. We are essentially one. On this basis, we may speak of one people inhabiting one universe, just as we now envision one people as children of one planet. Differences are always a matter of degree, but true unity established in consciousness is absolute. The beings currently visiting Earth from other planets, while no doubt different from humans in both superficial and more profound ways, are nevertheless conscious, intelligent beings. Consciousness is the basis for both human and extraterrestrial existence and is therefore the foundation for unity and communication between the various people of the universe. Beliefs may vary, biological processes may vary, assorted capacities may vary, social systems and technology may vary, but the simple thread of conscious intelligence which runs through all people elegantly weaves our unity. This essential unity is not subject to the trials of diversity. It is pure, immutable, and fundamental to the existence of intelligent life itself. So that extract came from Dr. Stephen Greer in a larger piece of work, and he's also advertising the fact that he's in Temecula, California, between July 26th and 28th, running a One Universe, One People collective out there. So for any of our California-based friends out there who want to be part of that, then check it out on stephengreer.com. I think would probably be the best way to look. Jolie, what do you think?
Regardless of what we think of Stephen Greer, there's some people that, is controversial. It doesn't matter. He's on to something. And if he's trying to connect us and to bring us and elevate us, that's what we want to lean into. We want to find ways in which to connect so that we can elevate. And not only that, so we can break through some of these veils that we as individuals have on us, our hangups, our pathologies. Can you imagine if we can get closer to, and now I know this is kind of cheesy, but what was in the Celestine prophecy, right? The way that you can think and connect, to open your mind to that being a possibility is the first step. And so, but what are we fighting against, right? We're fighting against years of programming. So let's relax and dip our toe in to what is oneness, because, that's such a large concept. What does that look like? What does that feel like? How does oneness act? How does it sound? Right? So these are some of the visceral ways, because I say all the time that spirituality, when you start intellectualizing it, it kind of dies.
Yeah.
But the mind has to understand some of these concepts in order to feel safe enough to allow the body to do what it needs to do. And that's where the spirituality comes in, is through the emotion and the feeling. When the hairs on your body stand up, okay, now we're talking. When you start to cry or feel a joy, okay, now that is the energy. Close your eyes and see yourself at your goal. See yourself where you want to be when that feeling hits you. That's part of the skill set. So when we creatively visualize, we're looking to feel that feeling. So it adds the gas to our goals and our what it is we're trying to achieve. Okay, so that's what I would like to say about creative visualization. We're giving the mind something to do so that the body can relax and manifest. Okay, so are we gonna, that was my contribution. I know it was long.
No, that's great. That's great. So before we go to your meditation, right,
Yes.
we're gonna go to a piece which is from the Tao, which is an interpretation by the late Dr. Wayne Dyer. I mean, this is a really, really, really good book, and I definitely recommend it. But we just wanted to do a little less than 5-minute section which talks about oneness consciousness, as Lao Tzu, who was the philosopher who created the Tao back 2,500 years ago. Wayne Dyer brings a modern day interpretation to that, around which Jolie will then ultimately do as a meditation.
Living oneness. This verse of the Tao Te Ching examines the paradoxical nature of life on earth. Lao Tzu encourages the attainment of comfort with the seemingly incompatible opposites of body and soul, which form the basis of our daily life. We are connected to the power of the eternal Tao while simultaneously being in a mortal physique. As we take on this seemingly ambiguous stance, we begin to see the world revealed as flawless. Everything that seems to be absolute is an opportunity to recognize its paradoxical reality. This teaching takes the form of a series of questions. Can an adult body, with all of the conditions inherent in the aging process, such as stiffness, soreness, limitations caused by aching joints and so on, can it be as supple as a newborn's? Is it possible to be someone who works and struggles and still be the feminine spirit birthing creation? Can one succeed in these and similar ways and still be free of feelings of self-importance? Is it possible to stay true to the Tao without allowing ego to dominate, yet successfully function in an ego-dominated world? This 10th verse promotes a way of living that is guided by the power of embracing the one when the illusion of duality appears more powerful. Read Hafiz's writing on this subject thousands of years after the Tao Te Ching was written. Quote, "Only that illumined one who keeps seducing the formless into form had the charm to win my heart. Only a perfect one who is always laughing at the word two can make you know of love." End quote. Our origin cannot be split, yet we're in a world that all too often seems to reject the perfect oneness that is the Tao. We can personally live the Tao by suspending our belief in opposites and reactivating our awareness of its unity. That is, we can surrender ego and be in this world without being of it. This is my interpretation of Lao Tzu's advice from his 2,500-year-old perspective. First, embrace oneness by seeing yourself in everyone you encounter. Rather than having judgmental thoughts about those whom you regard as separate or different, view others as an extension of yourself. This will diminish self-importance, and it will unite you with what Lao Tzu calls the primal virtue. Letting go of ego-dominated thoughts lets you sense the oneness that you share with others. Thus, you give yourself the opportunity to feel a part of the all-embracing Tao. Practice inner awareness whenever you feel yourself about to criticize anyone or any group. News reports designed to encourage your sense of separateness or superiority in relation to others can be a perfect time to do this. Find yourself as one of them. In situations where you're expected to hate an assumed enemy, stop yourself from these judgments and walk an imaginary mile or two in their shoes. Do so with all forms of life, even the plant world. See yourself in everyone and all creations, noting the Tao in this simple observation: we are the world. And secondly, take pleasure from what you possess without being attached to these things. Let go of your identification with your stuff and with your accomplishments. Try instead to enjoy what you do and all that flows into your life simply for the pleasure of doing and observing the flow itself. You literally own nothing and no one. All that is composed will decompose. All that is yours will leave and become someone else's. So step back a bit and allow yourself to be an observer of this world of form. Becoming a detached witness will put you into a state of bliss while loosening your tight grip on all of your possessions. It is in this releasing process that you'll gain the freedom to live out what the Tao is always teaching by example. Do the Tao now. Today, practice seeing oneness where you've previously seen two-ness or separation. Feel the invisible energy that beats your heart, and then notice it beating the heart of every living creature all at once. Now feel the invisible energy that allows you to think, and sense it doing the same for every being currently alive. Contemplate these words from the Gospel of Thomas. His disciples said to him, "When will the kingdom come?" And Jesus said, "It will not come by looking outward. It will not say, 'Behold this side,' or 'Behold that one.' Rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it. Today, know that practicing oneness thinking will help you see that kingdom."
Well said, Wayne Dyer. I do love that, and I think it was great because it just really aligns us with the oneness thing that Stephen Greer was talking about. Between even extraterrestrial life and life here, and oneness goes way beyond that. So, Jolie,
All right.
one quick point, and then I'm going to shut up, right? Because what I'm going to say is that we will finish with the meditation as we did last week. We will not come back after that. Okay, so basically the lead into the meditation, then I'm going to get meditation waterfall going in the background once you're ready to go, Jolie, and then we will say farewell because we will send the weekly out tomorrow with the recording. But other than that, Jolie, I am handing over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. And when we speak about oneness, the oneness starts with us and within. Oftentimes, we're not even holistically one with ourselves. And so, therefore, how do we expect to be holistically one with others? Most of the time, it's by force or sheer will. And so, with our feet flat on the floor, our palms face up on our thighs, as we feel safe, we're in a comfortable, safe place, whether that's laying down or sitting down. You know the drill for those of you laying down. Keep your feet flat on the floor for the first part of the meditation. And question yourself from a heart-centered space. What does loving myself feel like? And let's get to answering that question as we begin to ground our energy into Mother Earth. We're just going to make it simple and quick, because as we know, oneness is easy. It's simple. When we're oneness with ourselves and with others, Our environment is in flow. It's that simple. So we're going to flow down through Mother Earth, and we're going to root our energy because we're worthy and deserving of receiving the messages from the Divine Mother, and allow for us to be nurtured by her. So just take it in, root yourself with a 6 inches in diameter grounding cord, pull in your aura layer to be 1.5 feet around you. That's your personal space and your energy. You command it. This is how we began to get into oneness, by having confidence in our own energy field, as we call our higher self above us, at a comfortable distance from the crown of our head. And now all of us knows our ego and every part of us are going to default to the guidance of the higher self, which is connected to everything that is divine. We're going to snap our astral body, and it's time to come home. Our astral body, when we sleep, is floating out there, helping us solve our problems. Come back in, bring me that information. So we snap its feet in our feet, knees in our knees, hips in our hips, shoulders in our shoulders, head in our heads, hands in our hands, fitting inside of us like a hand fits inside of a glove. We are all back together. We're going to get rid of everybody else's energy by putting 2 roses outside our aura layer, opening our brow like we would the lens of a camera, and moving out all people, places, and things into that rose outside our aura. We're not going to worry about what that looks like. We're just going to command it to be so. And that energy flows in there as we simultaneously put a golden sun above our head. And that's being filled up with oneness, with divine life force energy, cosmic divine life force energy. It's being filled up with that. Limitless possibility is in that golden sun above your head. You are worthy and deserving of it to come down into your body. But first, we're going to open the bottoms of our feet like we would the lens of a camera, and we're going to call in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. Is it red for movement, action? Is it yellow for personal power? Green and blue for healing? Is it all of them? Bring them all in for joy and amusement, and move that up the side channels of the legs, allowing for that, for all you oldies out there, to pull in the joints and move out all of that stiff energy, and bring in that supple energy of a baby, like Wayne Dyer talked about, as it moves up into those hips through the femur. A little bit of it does a U-turn, goes down the grounding cord. The rest of it starts to fill us up like water fills up a cup, as that gold light then begins to cascade down as we open our crown like we would the lens of a camera. It is coming through that golden sun. We're not ready for it yet. So bring and allow for that golden light to cascade down through your crown, moving into all those folds of the brain, filling up your face, beauty, 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 moving down the neck, moving down that spine, meeting the energy, the earth energy in that first chakra, and filling you up like water fills up a cup, moving through all those systems and organs, bringing you into optimal health. Open your hand chakras as this energy sprouts out your feet, hands, and crown chakras, filling up your aura layers. And you just feel the energy of the divine filling you up, making you healthy, and creating this beautiful energy that is allowing for your aura layer to open up and connect with your fellow man, allowing for the energy of the divine. You can just see yourself put your forehead on someone else's, and there's just this energy of this, not even a mind meld. We don't even want to connect with the mind that's been created by man. We are connecting with divine mind, that universal life force grid that's created by divine energy. That's what we're connecting with. That MK Ultra crap, we send that away. We are over here in the divine light, and we are one with the cosmic life force energy. And now we are all dissolved, and we are the space within the space. So now we're getting to work here. So I want you to sit in the energy of your goals. Where do you see yourself? Where do you see your fellow man? And how is he and her participating in your good and in your joy and in your love? How is it that we are creating this beautiful cloud, cosmic gold, of divine oneness, which is leading us towards unspeakable beauty. But each little microscopic part of this cloud is your goals and you, that makes up this whole thing of light, this cloud of light, your goal, this etheric energy. I want you to just see it. You're it, and it is you. And inside of this etheric energy, every little cell is containing your good. So we can say this, the energy of the divine is my most infinite supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly and easily under grace in the most perfect ways for the highest good of all concerned. Loving relationships are magnetized to me, partnerships, positive energy, joy, light. We're sitting in it. See it in your life. What does it look like? What does that oneness look like? Now, what you do is you take that ether and you share it with your mom. You share it with your dad. You share it with your friends. You share it with the world around you. Share it with your partner. Share it with your coworker. See this etheric energy that envelopes that you are being spread out into the world around you. Let it fill up your home. Let it go to your neighbor. Let it go up into the divine. Let it go down into Mother Earth. All of you, you're just everything around you, you are. Every little microscopic cell is filled with your unspeakable beauty, your goodness, your goals. Feel that energy as you breathe with the rhythm of your body. It's yours. It's theirs. It's ours. It's here. It's right here now. Sit in the glory and the divinity of your quantumness. And of your abilities to connect with divine energy and do magic. Just with your brain and your body and the soul that is within. Align with your highest good, which is for the benefit of you and the world around you. Let's go quantum. You are one with everyone. Get neutral. Get gold. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Bring your awareness back into your heart chakra, back into your body. Reformulate yourself. Yes, there's still a little vanity in this human body. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as it is guided by the highest part of you to bring love and joy to the world. Embrace your prosperity because it's going to allow you to pave the way for others. Have mastery over this dimension so that you can open doors for yourself and other people and have access to the things that create unspeakable beauty. You're safe, you're permitted, and you're allowed to do that. Take a deep breath in, exhale. Go ahead and close your feet chakras, your hand chakras. Bring that golden sun down. Allow it to fill up your body and go down the grounding cord, push out into the aura layer, some of it up into the higher self. You're a bright beam of gold and light today. And you're just spreading love and joy and unspeakable beauty everywhere you go. Take a deep breath in, exhale. And when you're ready, you can close your crown like you would the lens of a camera and open your eyes.